Hello and welcome to this week's Planets and Prediction Show. I am in the middle of a move and I am Dallisa Hocking, a fifth generation psychic medium. I put together this live show so that I could team up with my astrologer friends and talk about what is happening in the energy, what the planets are doing to us, what we can expect, how to work with the energy. We also take a look at some of the current headlines and how astrology is playing in and aligned with those news stories. So it's a fun episode. We go live every Tuesday. And it's fun to see everybody here. If you are tuning in live, thank you. Drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from today. We have Scott Tejerian here as our astrologer. If you have been following my channel for a while, you will know Scott. You will know his work. He is a fan favorite. So I'm going to be bringing him on to the screen here in just a moment. And if you are new to this show, welcome. I know there's a lot of new people tuning in because you found me through the Lee Harris episode that aired about a week ago. I was on his show, Impact the World. So welcome to all of my new followers, however you're finding me, and welcome back to everyone who has joined me previously. This jar that is over the top of my moving boxes is our live giveaway. So if you tune into the live stream and you comment, then you will see your little bauble just like that go into the jar. And at the end of today's show, I will select a winner, and that winner will receive a personalized tarot report from me. I'll shuffle my cards and look at what the next 12 months holds for you. And it's a lot of fun. So let's see who we've got tuning in today, and then I'll bring Scott in to join us. We've got Iowa. Let's see where else. Thank you. Ramona's saying, learned about me from Lee Harris. It was so much fun sitting with Lee in his studio and doing that episode. Let's see, Toronto, Canada. Sacramento, California, Florida. Oh, Melbourne, Australia, all the way in Melbourne. I love that. Plymouth, Massachusetts, Gainesville, Florida. Welcome to the show. Pennsylvania, British Columbia, Colorado, Southern California desert, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Connecticut, Gilroy, California, yay, Chicago, Atlanta, New York. We are all over the place today. Keep it coming. New York, Boston, Pennsylvania, Iowa. We have another Australia. Okay. Yes, there was an earthquake in Southern California yesterday. Scott and I were just talking about it backstage. Up there quite a bit in the Richter scale, so I'm glad everybody's okay. Loveland, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. Yay. Oh, Seattle. I know. Scott's amazing. He's so great. Okay. India and New Jersey. Oh, beautiful. Okay, keep it coming. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. I want to bring Scott on now because otherwise, I'll just sit here and look at the comments all day and we won't even be able to talk to Scott. Hello.
What is up, Dallisa? Great to see you. Great to be here. Great to be alive on Earth today. Yes, what a time to be alive.
What a time.
Yes.
And it feels like the energy from one day to the next day, it feels like this roller coaster of what kind of hill
Mm.
am I on today?
Mm.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. I'm curious,
Okay.
everybody that's
Yeah.
tuning in, let us know in the comments how you're feeling energetically. Because, like yesterday, for example, I just felt this like irritation, this frustration. And then today I'm like finger in a light socket, like, like I got to get everything done. So
Mm. Wow.
it's like this ebb and flow. How have you been feeling, Scott?
Good. Doing well. Happy to be here, enjoying life, and yeah, just really grateful for what life is bringing to me each and every day. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's all part of the experience, and it's a fascinating experience. It's interesting. Life is interesting. Life is not boring for me. It's interesting.
Yeah. And you and I've done collaborations now for a while, talking about my psychic, predictions and insights and what you're seeing in
Mhm.
astrology. And um, so you often come to mind just because I'm like, oh, I wonder how Scott's doing.
Mhm.
Yesterday your energy popped in and I just felt this like feeling of, oh, I just want to go hug Scott. So
Aw.
whatever is going on, it's like just know that you had a cosmic hug from me yesterday.
Aw, I appreciate that, Delisa. I always feel your support from wherever you are. We're connected, and I really cherish our connection. It means a
Same.
lot to me. Yes.
Same, yeah. Ramona is sharing yesterday was spicy. Today is
Mm.
amplified energy. I
Mhm.
completely agree with that statement. Spicy.
Mm.
Yesterday was, yeah, like jalapeno poppers kind of day. That's
Wow.
how I would describe it. Yeah.
I'm
Today
always
has been,
curious, like, well, like what's going on in different people's charts, because for one person, the day might be spicy. For another person, it might be bland. It's like, we're not all tasting the same ingredients in the dish of life that each day brings us. So when somebody says yesterday was spicy, I'm always curious to know what was hitting what in their astrological code. Because for someone else it might have been a very serene day, a very chill day. Everybody's having their own experience. I mean, there is the collective sort of experience that we're having, but I feel it's also very nuanced in terms of how we're experiencing. Just like, some person might really like this dish of food, and another person might not like it in the same way. They might not like it at all. So it's really important to understand how the planets are affecting you specifically.
yeah, I'll give an example.
Yes,
So
tell us.
I'm a Gemini rising for anyone that knows astrology or what the ascendant, rising sign of your chart is. So my chart ruler is Mercury.
Hmm.
So we just had a Mercury retrograde. We're still, I think, clearing the shadow a little bit. So we have some remnants. But yesterday, I feel like there were probably 3 to 5 different things that happened where I received different information than I originally received during the Mercury retrograde. So, for example, I was sharing with you, Scott, before we started, that during Mercury retrograde, I had an email and I read the email about my move, because I'm in the middle of a move, when my house was going to be ready to move into. And I
Hmm.
was so excited because I thought I had read it one way. And
Hmm.
then yesterday I was like, this is so strange that I haven't heard more information about this move. I better click on this email that I read. So I clicked on it and I would have sworn to you that it was a brand new email that I had never seen in my life, the way that I read it so differently. So I experienced a lot of that yesterday of like, wait a second, that's not what I thought it was. And now I'm like, that's what it is. So it's kind of
Hmm.
this like Mercury retrograde whiplash.
Yes.
And also just wondering if there is like that Neptune, going into Aries vibe of like what the truth is,
Mhm.
or things that we didn't know that are maybe coming to
Mhm.
light. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, the Mercury retrograde, that really makes sense, because this is why, the general sort of advice around retrograde is, double check what you're reading, slow down, like read every single word, get someone else to read it. It's like, and don't make any decisions based on what you're reading during a retrograde. Like, retrograde is really a time to slow down. And the thing is during a retrograde, because Mercury is moving backwards, that creates this sort of frequency within us to want to speed up. It's like if you're on your way to you're walking through an airport, you're going through a terminal, and they have those like people mover. It's like an escalator, but it's flat, and you're just standing there, and it's moving you in a certain direction. If that all of a sudden, if you're not moving, you're standing on that, and you're going the direction you want to go. If that starts moving backwards, you're going to start wanting to walk forward. You're like, this is taking me the wrong direction. Now I need to, like, I've got a plane to catch, and I need to go this way, but it's pulling me back that way. So now I need to rush. I need to like start moving this and that. What happens is we start tripping over ourselves. We start falling. We start creating more chaos in our life than we would typically want to create. Like, you ever want to create chaos, but you're just creating that chaos. So it's the challenge is being able to just say, well, I guess I'm supposed to go back this way, and I'm not going to worry about it. Like, I'm being pulled back this way. There's some sort of greater purpose for me going the direction opposite to the direction that I thought I wanted to go. And and that's sort of how you want to navigate the retrograde, is slow down even though you feel the urge to speed up. And so you're
Yeah.
feeling anxious about like the move and all this stuff, and you're like, okay, and your eyes get all big, you get all excited, and you're not reading it clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
much my life right now.
Now the Neptune thing, the Neptune in Aries, I think is completely different.
Okay.
But I think Neptune in Aries is really urging us to slow down in terms of how we view ourselves. Because remember, Neptune is the cloudy planet, and so we're sitting in the fog. And so where's the fog? Wherever Neptune is wherever the fog is. And so where is Neptune bringing the fog? It's bringing the fog to Aries. Aries is the sign that represents the self. So now there's a fog over ourselves, who we are as an individual. So there might be confusion about, well, who am I? Who am I supposed to be? I thought I was this person. Now I don't know who I am anymore.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
a
we're
big
all going to
like.
go through that.
Yeah, that's a big statement.
Hmm.
Um, I remember when you and I think did our last live stream, you talked about how all of our individual dumpsters filled with all of our trash or things we've accumulated is being pushed out into the middle of the street and lit on fire.
Yes.
So is that this Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries?
Yes, exactly. And we're just getting a taste of it now. I mean, it's only going to be in Aries until October 22nd, and then it moves back into Pisces, and then it moves into Aries again in 26, and then it will be there for the next like 13, 14 years or so. But that, historically, when you look at Neptune in Aries, just going back to the last time it was in Aries, this is when you have, um, a lot of questions in terms of ideology. Neptune is the sign that represents, or is the planet that represents faith. So this is like your fantasy, you're idealizing. We're all going to idealize ourselves. There's going to be confusion about ourselves, and then there's going to be ideal, idealization about ourselves as well. I mean, think about Aries, it's confidence and fear, love and fear. Those are like the two sides of Aries. There's love and fear, confidence and cockiness. So, depending on where we're vacillating, if we're vacillating in that fear frequency, there may be an urge to project our ideologies upon others because we're so afraid unconsciously. Neptune is the planet of the unconscious. We're so afraid unconsciously. We're not even aware of these fears, but they're in us that say, what if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong about my beliefs, then it will totally ruin my psyche. So I need to double down on my beliefs, my faith. And if I need to kill somebody in order to prove my point, then that's what I have to do. Like you think about like the Civil War. I mean, sure, this was over slavery and land, but it's really the real reason behind the Civil War was ideology. Whereas one group of people said that these lines mean that we can do whatever we want within these lines. And the other side said, no, 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 those lines don't as much matter as much as these lines. Your state lines aren't as important as the country lines. So it was a war of ideology where one side said these are our rights because we're a state, and the other side said no, the rights that supersede the state are the country. So if the country says this, the state has to abide, and the state said no, we don't have to abide, so we're going to go to war with the country. That's where we're headed, where people are going to be, in conflict with each other over beliefs.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was going to go with this question about what you've been sharing is, Neptune is a very slow moving planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that and knowing it's there for a long period of time, does that point to divisiveness between all kinds of groups of people or one country versus another country for the duration that Neptune is in Aries?
I mean, it doesn't even have to be country versus country. It's like the Civil War showed us that was states versus states or states versus the country. But even more importantly, it was father versus son, mother versus daughter, brother versus brother. It's like families were split over beliefs, over what one person said was right versus what the other person said was right. So our sense of faith is going to be tested, and ultimately, it's the faith in ourselves. Can we still live from that center of love without, even in the face of fear or threats to ourselves? Or if not, are we going to react out of fear? Because that's what creates the conflict.
There's so many things that I could go in so many different directions with that. But it reminds me of what you and I think have talked about so many times before, which was that we chose to be here, right here, right now for this experience. Because
Yes.
somebody could hear that and go, well, I'm just going to go like hide out in the woods for, 14 years, whatever it
No.
is.
Doesn't. No.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think there's a way to skirt around this. I think
No.
that we are being faced with our own dumpster fire and other
Mhm.
people's dumpster fires and
Yep.
still figuring out how we come together human to human without getting lost in the spiral of fear. because
Yes.
you're right. It could be a war of a certain kind, whether it's physical or something like tariffs. It could be a religious war. It could be blue versus red. I mean, there's so many different ways, like you said, that it plays out that we can't get around all of it, and it's not designed for us to get around it. I think it's meant for us to go stand in the street with our dumpster fires and figure out how we're going to put the fires out and heal ourselves.
Well, we don't necessarily have to be that aggressive, where we're going out in the street and bringing our dumpster fire with us. But there's a balance between the two. Like there is no hiding. Because you're going to have to go outside your house at some point in time. And even if you don't go outside your house, you've got that internal conflict, and if you turn off your TV, your phone, all of it, and you're just sitting alone in your house in silence, is that a peaceful place for you? I mean, I challenge anyone to turn off their TV and all, like, you're not reading, you're not listening to music. You're not looking at your phone. You're just sitting in silence in your home. I challenge anyone to do that for an entire 24 hours. I mean, I don't know if there's anything harder than that. It might be easier to not eat for 24 hours than it is to just sit in silence for 24 hours without speaking or listening to anyone, where you are just alone with your thoughts. So if you want to be that person that hides out in the woods and is like, I'm never going to talk to anyone for the next 14 years, I mean, I take my chances in the street, but
I think that's a great quote for today's episode. I'm going to take my chances in the street.
Yeah, exactly. At the same time, like, you want to make sure that if you're going out into the street with the dumpster, that you're being respectful of yourself and others. I don't know. It's such a tenuous period because people are on edge, and so we have to recognize that what we are attracting to us is something that exists within us, and so if you are whether you're attracting people out in the world or just like on your phone scrolling through Instagram, like, you are attracting what is a part of you. That's why it's in front of your face. So if anything triggers you or upsets you or angers you, there's something within yourself that you need to focus on. And that's what you would be focusing on if you were alone in the woods without any technology. It would be coming up within you.
Yeah, I think it was Aaron Rodgers, the football player. I'd heard an interview that he did some time ago where he did this experience, I guess you could call it, where he went into a pitch black room. I don't know if it was a room or a house or what it was, but maybe you've heard about this, but it was a period of time where he was in the dark by himself, and he had to face everything that was inside of him. And it sounds like it really changed him. But he did it intentionally. He's like, send me in. But I think he's really open to all those experiences.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And he's been, very open in talking about like his ayahuasca experiences, but yeah, he is definitely somebody that, I don't know, the mainstream does not like, because he's like, people joke about it all the time. Oh, you're going to go sit in the dark room. Are you going to sit in a dark room like Aaron Rodgers, to make your decision about where you're going to play football next year? It's become kind of a joke in the mainstream, but yeah, that is what he did. And that's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
No, I mean, as many times as I've even talked to people in the last decade about, hey, you should try guided meditations. The amount of people that even say no to that, I'm like, it's even smaller number that would say, yeah, send me and put me in a dark room and let me sit with my thoughts for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we get so used to that noise.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
The silence is haunting. Yes.
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 Yeah, it can be. It can
Yes.
be. A lot of people won't do it, but
Mhm.
maybe when we feel like things are spinning, sitting with ourselves in silence could do a lot of good for us.
Yes.
I think some people in my experience have decided they don't want to do something like that because they're afraid if they sit still in silence long enough, then everything breaks down or everything comes to the surface that they've been pushing down for.
That's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. So, but instead of that, if you're not doing that, it's going to come out with this Neptune and Aries. It's going to come to the surface. Like, you just imagine if everybody that was involved in the Civil War just sat in silence for, a week, they would, maybe there wouldn't have been a war. Maybe there would have been peace and harmony, and the slaves would have been freed, all of that. Who knows? But I don't know what we're going to be experiencing, but there's so much shifting going on this year and in the coming years. I'm excited to see. Yes, you can't hide from your thoughts in silence. Exactly, Victoria. And that's what makes the silence so scary. Yeah, the floating tank, I've done that before. That's different, but yeah, where you sit in those, it's in pitch black. And oh, thank you. Thank you, Honey Badger. I've done one of those floating tanks before where, have you done that, Delisa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where it's pitch black and it's zero weightless and you're just floating there. And man, that's a trip. I really enjoyed that. I don't know. I think it says that it makes you feel like you're in utero again. And maybe that's how it kind of felt because my mind was just off in some really wild places. It
Yeah.
wasn't bad though. Yeah.
It reminds me of like right before you fall asleep sometimes when a bunch
Yes.
of stuff comes like racing
Yes.
in.
Exactly.
Yeah, float tanks are amazing, but they're
Hmm.
sensory deprivation. So
Exactly.
you are meant to go into darkness with only you and your thoughts.
Yes.
So try it.
And I don't even know how long I was in there. I was in there for like a few hours or something.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, because you just lose track of time and you're just wandering in your mind. Yes.
Yes, you and your thoughts in the salt water.
Hmm.
So I got to ask you about Mars going into Leo. So Mars
Yeah.
has been in Cancer. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
feels like Mars has been in Cancer forever. I know that's
Yeah.
being dramatic, but
Well,
I I
yeah.
kind of have talked about Mars and Cancer as like the mama bear watching her cubs, and you're coming too close, and she's going to rip your head off. So now
Hmm.
Mars is just about ready to go into Leo.
Hmm.
That is a very different energy in my experience. So,
Yes.
what do you think Mars, which is the planet of action, war,
Yep.
things like that,
Yep.
when Mars going into Leo, what do you expect that to bring in terms of a vibe shift?
Well, when you go, and this is the beauty of astrology and how everything, kind of builds on top of one sign builds on top of the next, like Cancer is about nurturing and it's about facing your past, your roots, and your upbringing, your ancestry, your bloodline. Like, where do I come from? Do I have the courage to really delve into my past and to nurture what I find there? To be courageous, to nurture my younger self, to nurture little Scott, in those tough moments that I'm blaming myself for. As a 49-year-old man, it's like, how can you blame yourself for that? You were 7. It's like, give yourself a break now. So once you've done that nurturing work, and it has been a long time because of the retrograde, Mars has been in Cancer for an extremely long time. Typically, Mars is in a sign for 6 weeks, and it moved into Cancer, back last summer, like the end of August. And so this is, the shift is now it's about, because we've nurtured ourselves, it's like, do you now have the courage to open your heart? Do you have the courage to love? Do you have the courage to boldly show and express what you love through your actions? This is looking at Mars and Leo in the best possible light, where it's like Leo rules the heart, Mars is courage, and there's nothing more courageous than an open heart. Because in order for a heart to be open, it has to be strong. And so that's the vibe shift of Mars moving into Leo. It's giving us the courage to express our joy through our actions.
So I'm thinking about what you were saying about Neptune and Aries. And then I'm hearing you talk about being led by the heart with Mars and Leo. How those two placements of Neptune and Aries and Mars and Leo, do they complement each other and work together, or is it like kind of the heads coming together? So how do you see those two working or not working together?
Well, they're both fire signs. And so, fire supports fire. It's very combustible, though at the same time, it's fire, and so Neptune is dreams and fantasy. I think that, the way that they complement each other is, having the courage to open your heart and to authentically face the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame that exists. It's like you think of the heart that's closed. It's like, I think of it in terms of, every time your heart is hurt, it creates a callus. And the more calluses you have on your heart, the more sheltered it becomes, the more it's hiding, the more that it's closed. So, these calluses are something that has come about through experiences where you may feel guilty, you may feel shameful, you may feel regretful, you may be blaming yourself for something. It's like, for instance, if you are in a relationship where you've loved somebody, you've opened your heart to somebody, you gave them everything, and then you found out they were cheating on you or they betrayed you in some way. Well, there's a nice sized callus on that heart right there. And that callus is, you idiot, Scott. Like, you are so stupid to trust this person. Like, you how many times are you going to have to learn that you can't trust anybody? That when you trust people, when you open your heart to people, they hurt you. You're so stupid. You're so dumb. So this Mars energy is coming in and saying, no, you're not dumb. You're not stupid. That was an experience of life. And that experience of life is you had that experience so that you could learn to dig deeper in love with yourself, and recognizing that, oh, wow, you gave so much love to that person and they still betrayed you. I want to love them even more now, because anyone that's betraying somebody like that, they're hurting, they're in pain, they're suffering, and I'm not going to take that suffering on. Of course, like, it hurts me, but at the same time, now looking back, I've got some space between that experience and right now, and I can look back and say, I love you for opening your heart. So Mars in Leo is giving us the courage to break through those calluses of guilt, shame, regret, blame, and love more authentically and more boldly.
I love what you just said. It's reminding me of the I am statement. That's that Aries energy. But how can we give that to ourselves in a way that is very loving? And so if anybody wants to drop some in the comments, I'd love to hear them. But I'm thinking about, I am beautiful. I am compassionate. I am forgiving.
Yes.
And thinking about those I am statements that will use that fire of Aries, Leo, and bringing that fire up in a way that is complementary of ourselves and also lends to that healing that we're being called to do.
Exactly. Yes. Like, Leo's the star, right? And so the star is like, look at me. It's allowing I am beautiful. I am amazing, and so when you think of Mars in Leo, and the trine to Neptune and Aries, it's giving us the courage to be the star of our own fantasy. Yes. Be the star of your own fantasy. I am compassionate. I am magical. Exactly. When you're saying these phrases, I am worthy, I am magical, I am compassionate, you are the hero of your story. And that's what this alignment is doing, is saying, hey, yeah, Ricky, I am the manifestation of the divine. Like, you're the hero of your story. This is saying you are worthy to be the hero of your story rather than the foil, the fool. You are worthy to be the hero of your story. Like, this is this is literally what the universe is screaming at us to do right now, because when you think about Pluto and Aquarius, it's about transforming the community. Well, how does the universe want us to? Cheeky, yeah, I love it. When you're transforming the community, does the universe want us to transform the community for better or for worse? It wants us to transform the community for better, and so if we're transforming the community for better, then we have to be loving ourselves. If we are allowing ourselves to be the star of our own fantasy, then we are putting ourselves out there in the community that says, I have something to give. I have something meaningful to contribute. And we're not crying for attention because we know that we're going to be seen, because there's something uniquely special about me that nobody else can duplicate.
I'm hearing the journaling prompt. I am the hero of my own story, and that means ...
I love that. Love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I believe in the power of rewriting, our stories and our thoughts and what we keep telling ourselves. It usually comes in a lot with clients around money stories or scarcity. And it's like, all right, well, what's your new money story? Go write it down. What do you believe now to be true about money? Because you may realize that something that you were experiencing when you were 10 years old about money and your family situation is still rearing its ugly head now, 40 years later. And you get to rewrite whatever story you want about yourself and your life. So if you are playing the part of the hero in your own story, that sun, the Leo energy,
Yep.
then what's the new story about who you are in
Exactly.
your own life? Yeah.
That's it. Well, and that's what Neptune in Aries can be about in the most powerful, positive way. If you can reimagine yourself to be anything that you want, who are you going to reimagine yourself to be? Because that's what Neptune is in Aries is about. It's about reimagining the self, reimagining who you are.
And don't play it small.
Well, that's the Leo frequency, is go big or go home. Go be bold. The lion is a bold creature, right? Lion's not small, timid, it's loud. It has a presence. That's what we're meant to embody with Mars in Leo, is the energy of the lion.
Yeah, it reminds me of the energy of, let's say, somebody getting ready to walk out on stage to give a TED talk. And they're backstage. It's kind of where we're at now, Mars and Cancer. getting closer and closer. And so they start to hear their name being called.
Yep.
And they start walking out on the stage and they're in the spotlight and they're front and center. It's like if you were in the middle of that stage and you had an audience full of people listening to you, what's the story you're going to tell?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh, it's so good. There are so many great I am statements in the comments. Yeah,
That's
I love
great.
it.
I
It
love
inspires
it.
all of us to think about what our
I
new
am
I am.
spending my kids' inheritance. That's hilarious, right?
Ramona.
Oh,
Pretty funny. I mean,
yes.
I think we should look at some headlines. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Talk about how the astrology is playing into these. So I try to pick headlines from different news sources, but I always say, like, gut check anything you're seeing in the media of what amount of truth is in it or if it resonates or not. So these are just some ones I found when scrolling yesterday because these dang headlines change every 5 minutes. So,
To keep you locked
oh man.
yes. So what
So
happened here?
yeah, this is a suspect who was arrested after setting the house on fire of the Pennsylvania governor. Everyone that was inside the house was able to get out. It was very strange because psychically, when I saw this news story come up, I think there's more to this than what's being reported. Um, the energy of the person who is the suspect in this case, there's a whole lot to dig into with his energy, and I don't necessarily feel like we should go down that rabbit hole at this moment, but I do think it's a strange story. We were just talking about fire with Leo and Aries and all this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that stories about a house being engulfed by flames aligns with this fire energy, or do you think there's something else at play?
I mean, the first thing that where my mind went when you sent this story to me was Pluto and Aquarius. Because when I think of Pluto and Aquarius, I always think of the French Revolution, and when I hear about something like this, it feels like that frequency. That the French Revolution is when people started chopping off, decapitating the king, the queen, the aristocracy. The governor of Pennsylvania could be viewed as the modern day aristocrat, right? They're in a position of power. And I don't know anything about this person who set this on fire, but there is sort of that vibe, it seems like, where people are very angry at life, and so they're blaming the people in charge, the politicians. It's really sad because you really want to take responsibility for yourself, like that's where people need to be focused. Is they need to look in the mirror every day. You look in the mirror and you say, I'm the most powerful person in my world. There is no person more powerful in my life than me. And so I don't know what the reason was for trying to burn down this governor's mansion, but it feels like that low vibration of Pluto and Aquarius.
Good insight into that. And yeah, the reminder that we are the captain of our own ship. And anytime we're giving our power away to someone else,
Yeah.
it just creates a lot of potential frustration.
I mean, like, do you think that this guy who lit this house on fire, his life is better now today than it was before I mean, I assume they've caught the guy. He's going to go to prison for a long time, maybe the rest of his life. Who knows? But I don't think he's going to be in a better place than he was prior to lighting the governor's mansion on fire. It's just like, oh my God, it's sad.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
oof. Okay, let's.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this article is about the monopoly
Hmm.
court case that's happening. And the headline says Facebook owner could be forced to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp to, uh, my understanding is to break it up so that it's not, monopoly that's owned
Yeah.
by Meta.
Yep.
So changes with social media. So where do you feel like that would fit with the astrology?
Again, it's Pluto in Aquarius. It's also Uranus in Taurus. When you talk about change to social media, Pluto is the planet of transformation. So that is change. Aquarius is the sign that represents the social network, social media. So there is going to continue to be a transformation of social media over the next 20 years and societies at large, because Aquarius is symbolized by the water bear. And the water bear was the individual who invented the jug, not for themselves, but for the community, for the village. So that also goes to, the fact that, well, if there's one company that is becoming the monopoly and owning all these companies, then that's not fair. That's not equal. And that is what Aquarius is about. It's about equality. It's about fairness. It's about balance so that everybody within the group or the community feels like they are contributing and receiving in a fair and equitable, meaningful way to each individual. But the Uranus in Taurus is also, Uranus is the planetary ruler of Aquarius. And so that's transiting through Taurus, which is the sign that represents money. So that is revolutionizing the financial institutions and the wealth, the distribution of wealth. I really wonder when I think of these monopolies, I think of like these big conglomerates like State Street or Black Rock, or that own like every company. It's like, how are they able to get away with that, where they have such a high interest in so many different companies, like competing companies. It's like, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this if they actually do break it up.
Yeah, it makes me wonder with Uranus going into Gemini July 7th, if we'll start to see more changes so that things maybe align more with local neighborhoods or local businesses versus these big, giant conglomerates. So be
Hmm.
interested to see what happens with local versus global or things
Hmm.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see what we got next. Ah, yes. So I watched a clip of Ray. He was on Meet the Press, so I watched it
Hmm.
last night. Ray Dalio. Uh, he he did kind of tiptoe around giving it like a Great Depression title, but he is fearful that what we have coming is worse than the recession we saw in 2008, for example. And I
Hmm.
have seen some other interviews with some financial heads or influencers, reporters that are also going higher and higher in a percentage of the likelihood of us going into a recession this year. And then some are starting to get more vocal about how they think it's actually going to be worse than that. Um, so big changes around money. I'm going to guess Uranus and Taurus.
Exactly. Good guess. And this is something that I've been waiting for the past 6, 7 years, because, when Uranus transited into Taurus in 2018, 2019, it's been in Taurus for 6, 7 years. And Uranus last transited through Taurus during the Great Depression. So, I mean, I've been waiting for like some kind of financial collapse to occur over the last 6, 7 years, it hasn't happened. There's been dips in the stock market, like around COVID and that sort of thing, but then it bounced right back. Uh, I keep waiting for this to happen, and I keep hearing people like this billionaire Ray Dalio saying these sorts of things. They've been saying it for a while, but it hasn't happened yet. So when is it going to happen? Is it going to happen before Uranus moves into Gemini in early July? Does it happen when Uranus retrogrades back into Taurus on November 7th and then is there until 2026? So does it happen the end of this year or early 2026? I don't know. But it feels like something has got to happen. Something's going to shift. And maybe it has to do with these tariffs that Trump is doing. That's going to definitely reshift things in some matter that might leave financial gaps where people are losing a lot of money and they have to readjust, and then it ends up affecting everybody. Who knows? I don't know. But the bottom line with this is Uranus and Taurus is about, what do you value? What is important to you? What do you need when the house is burning down? What are you taking with you? Where are you spending your money? What are you doing to make money? Uranus is revolution. So we are meant to be revolutionizing our values. And that means if you are not really loving how you're making money, because Taurus is not just money, it's love. Because Venus is the planetary ruler of Taurus, and Venus is the goddess of love. So if you are not loving how you're making money, if you're not loving what you're spending your money on, because a lot of people just spend money to fill that emotional hole. Because they hate their job, they spend money just because it makes them feel better in the moment. It's like a fix, it's like an addiction. Then that is what needs to be revolutionized.
Yeah, I agree. I was sitting on my couch last night. I was feeling like there was some channeled messages that needed to come through. So I sat down in the dark and with my pen and paper, just enough light from the night sky to write down some notes. And I share them on. I do a Thursday show for my Sacred Signals community, and so I was preparing for the Thursday show. And one of the things they showed me about the money system last night was it's like we're at an amusement park. And I kind of like caught a glimpse of like a carnival and then seeing like Disneyland, where you're walking through the amusement park and you're seeing, the games and the food and the rides and the characters, and you're like in this land of fantasy, but you're not seeing what's actually happening behind the scenes. And so it was this feeling of, you've all been in this carnival setting thinking it's one thing, but it's not that. And we're about to show you what's actually happening. So that fits with what you're saying about, yes, I completely agree. I've been feeling like this summer is going to get really wacky. And so Uranus at the late degrees of Taurus, but then that retrograde back over those sensitive degrees, I'm like, oh, this is going to get real bumpy. But I love what you said, Scott, about if your house is burning down, what are you taking with you?
Mm-hmm.
Because that gives you some clarity around where you're placing value and importance. Because things with the money system and what we have as our possessions may change. And what we have as physical things in our life, they may not be permanent. And so how are we going to navigate that sea of change? But yeah, I thought the amusement park was an interesting analogy.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Because that's just kind of the bling, the excitement. It's like, buying stuff that you don't really need, but you're buying it because it's bright and shiny, and there's really no value to it. It's like an amusement park toy is like there's no value to it. You're just spending money because it's entertainment.
Yeah. Do you really need the stuffed animal that you would win from that impossible ring toss game? Probably
Exactly.
not.
Exactly. Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we'll all be questioning over these next several months, what are we spending money on, and
And
is it important? Yeah,
that's the thing too, because if you're spending all that money on the ring toss, like if you kept that money, maybe you don't have to be in the job that you hate.
just a little food for thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A reorganization of our money and what we're spending our time doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
Yes.
good. Okay, next up, the tariff wars sparking uncertainty for North Carolina farmers. So I was at breakfast with a friend of mine on Sunday. We were talking about the farmers, and then I come
Mhm.
across this article, and she was explaining some pieces of information that I hadn't quite clicked into place about what farmers have to buy and the contracts and what they
Mhm.
need to produce. And so with these tariffs being put into the mix, there's a lot of changes that are happening for the farming industry all over the world.
Yeah.
So to me, when I was having this conversation this weekend, it just raised all kinds of exclamation points in the energy field around, oh God, food, supply chain, and not to cause any panic or fear, because it's not where I want to go with this. But I've been predicting for a while now issues with food or how we get food and how that may need to go back even more to the local community, even more than it is now.
Mhm.
So, where do you see the astrology lining up with either a food issue or farmers having to be really creative and innovative to make it through these potential hurdles that they'll have?
You're saying all the keywords of Uranus. Innovative is like the key word of Uranus, and Taurus is one of the signs that rules food because it's the material. It was what I think last month. The thing that you one of the news stories, or maybe it was 2 months ago, you put up was the egg shortage. And like there's constantly, or it was like back during COVID, this toilet paper shortage. There's constantly we've been dealing with shortages in terms of things that you take for granted, like eggs at the store or toilet paper, or the price of milk going up, whatever it may be. This is all coming to fruition because of Uranus and Taurus. And it is again urging us to be innovative in terms of what we value. It's also encouraging us to be independent in terms of food. That like if you are relying on food at the grocery store, then you're putting yourself at the, you know, it's you're putting yourself in terms of at the mercy of society and the government and those sorts of things. Like, and I'm saying this like I shop at the grocery store. It's not like I have chickens, in my backyard, but yeah, it's all because of this Uranus in Taurus frequency. I just expect more and more uncertainty over the next couple months in terms of food, material, and then the end of this year and into next year. So, plan accordingly, whatever makes you feel safe and secure.
Yeah, I've been seeing news stories about people using potatoes as eggs for Easter this weekend. Like, we're going to hide the potatoes instead of the eggs because eggs
Huh.
are so expensive. And
Wow.
then Michael's craft store reported that their most popular item that they're selling right now is a package of fake eggs that you get to decorate. And then
Yeah.
you can go hide those. And then you get to reuse those eggs next year. So I think it's like you said, that innovative nature of Uranus. It's like, yeah, let's sit and think about like maybe we don't go buy the package of eggs at the store that's twice the amount that we normally pay. What if we created something or used something that we could just incorporate every year from now on? So it's being
Yeah,
a little bit more resourceful.
totally. Exactly. Yes. And again, it goes back to values. Is it really worth me, spending money on these eggs that I'm not going to eat?
Yes. Yeah. Just thinking through what we're doing and what we're spending time and energy on. I love it. Okay.
Mhm.
So hopefully that gives some people some ideas for Easter this weekend if they're celebrating. Okay. So I've been predicting another attempt.
Mm.
So I haven't done a deep dive into this news story, but this, I don't know if we necessarily want to say it out loud because of the algorithm, but this teen here on the screen did some pretty bad things, and apparently had a plot for Trump as well.
Mm.
So, whew, I know we don't have Trump's astrology chart up. I
Oh,
think you
yeah.
and I've talked about it
I
before.
got it.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like we've had a discussion about his chart, but do you see anything pointing to a change or either an office or somebody else trying something? The reason I ask that, and I don't want to start a political debate by
Yeah.
any stretch of the imagination, but I have been getting really strong, vivid channelings that I
Uh-huh.
say in my Zoom on Thursdays because I don't want to get flagged here. But it plays into Trump um, and potential changes that could be coming there. So, is there anything highlighted in this chart right now?
In terms of
Just anything
another,
that he may be experiencing as an individual or anything around hidden enemies or any kind of attacks or anything like that.
well, when you talk about hidden enemies, when uh, his 12th house begins at 1 degree in Leo. So on let's see, Monday is when Mars transits into his 12th house. So the god of war transiting into the house that would represent unknown enemies. Now the thing is Trump was born with Mars in the 12th house. So, I feel like he has kind of a psychic sense in terms of unknown enemies and people that might be out to get him. Maybe he has like kind of a sixth sense there. Uh, and you go to like the end of this month, April 29th is when Uranus is going to be right back where it was the same day as July 13th, which was the first attempt.
Yep.
So that's building up right now, and there's also Chiron is at 23 degrees right now, and it's at 23 degrees. It moved to 23 degrees on April 12th. It's going to remain at 23 degrees until April 29th, which is the same day that Uranus goes back to where it was the day of the first attempt. But 23 degrees is significant because that's where Trump's Saturn is. So Chiron, the wound and the ancient wisdom, which is unlocked through healing that wound, is squaring Trump's Saturn. So maybe some sense of wounding in terms of his authority, his sense of freedom. Maybe he's feeling more insecure about his sense of freedom and authority within the community. And then after it hits that 23-degree point and it gets to 25 degrees Chiron, which is May 17th, it's his Venus is at 25 degrees in Cancer. So Chiron's going to be squaring his Venus at the same degree from the end of May into June. But basically, all of April, May, and June, he's going through this sort of tense experience where he might be feeling insecure about his sense of freedom. His self confidence might be waning in terms of his personal authority. These are all just speculations based on looking at his chart and where a couple planets are transiting. So who knows exactly what's going to be going on? But yeah.
Yeah, a few months of intense energy. Yeah, I think we'll leave it there with that
Hmm.
story,
Okay.
because I think we could go down a whole bunch of rabbit holes that.
I'm curious to see what happens, mid June. That's when Mars is going to be crossing his ascendant. Like that, typically, when Mars crosses your ascendant, it can bring up a lot of rage, anger, aggression. So, I think like April, May, June might be some tense, a couple few tense months for him.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ay, ay, ay.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what our last news headline is. The ladies that went to space. So maybe folks have seen this headline: Katy Perry, Gail King, Lauren Sanchez. I think Lauren was like the commander, they called her, in charge of the all female Blue Origin flight. So it lasted about 8 minutes. But you could see the images of them like floating in their pod or whatever the heck it's called.
Hmm.
I know Gail King was really terrified before she went up there, but she did it. She made it back.
I don't
Um,
blame her.
yeah, I don't know if I'd be signing up for that.
No.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
So, what in the astrology points to maybe some kind of innovation or first time thing with space travel?
Yeah, that's Pluto and Aquarius. Again, it's Aquarius because it's symbolized by the water bear, and the water bear invented the jug. This is a period of innovation where, like I've been saying for so long now, that, these 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to see advancements in technology that are going to be like going from the light bulb to the iPhone. And so seeing like regular folks, I mean, I know like one person was a pilot and another person is a rocket scientist, but just it's like anyone's going to be, in 20 years, like if you and I want to go into space, like we'll be able to go into space. It's I think it's like that's where things are kind of headed, that just innovation, it's going to be commonplace, that space travel or space exploration or all that sort of stuff is going to become much more commonplace. AI, all of it. Like this was not even like there was no pilot. Thing just went up and it knew where to go and it knew when to come back down. It was all computerized. There's no one on the controls. They're just all in that pod, floating around and then coming back to Earth. Someone just pressed a button and said go, and it came back and it knew what to do. So, I mean, there's already cars driving around without people, so why not spaceships driving, flying around without people driving on the being on the controls. Yeah.
Whew, makes my stomach drop just thinking about it. And I even saw a couple folks, ladies, get off of that pod yesterday, and as soon as they exited, they got down on the ground and they kissed the ground and the dirt
Yeah.
because they were, I guess, grateful to be back on Earth and grateful
Yeah.
for Earth itself. So it was kind
Yeah.
of an interesting thing to witness.
Totally. I saw that. I saw Katy Perry kissing the ground, but yeah, maybe it makes them very grateful to be alive. I mean, when you do something that is so kind of exhilarating or just like different, and it feels, if Jeff Bezos said, Scott, you can be on this pod, I'd be like, no, thanks. Like I'm not interested in doing that. I'm more about the inner exploration. I'd rather be in a dark room for 3 days than than 8 minutes floating around in the ether up above the earth.
That's so funny. Yeah, let's poll everybody that's watching this video. Let us know. Would you rather go to space or go into a dark room by yourself? I think I'm with you. I think I would choose dark room.
Yeah.
Yeah, because listen, there's way too many helicopters and airplanes falling out of the skies these days. Like, I don't need to be in some kind of pod that just magically knows how to get to where it's going and back. I need a couple more people to test it out first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't care how many people test it out because I don't think I'd do it at all. It's like I just have no interest. But I mean, I look at my astrological code and it makes sense. So, yeah, okay, we got a few dark rooms. We got one space.
One space.
Definitely dark room by myself. Inner space. Yeah, that's what I'm about. Inner space.
Oh my God. Okay,
like
I think we have 2 people for space. The rest are saying dark room.
Yeah. And they probably have Sagittarius, heavy Sagittarius plate, but you have Sagittarius and you're choosing the dark room. So, but you're 6th house Sagittarius, so that's the mind. You want to explore your mind. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love our audience. They're so fun. And
I love it.
Great with all their comments today. I've got a few announcements, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah.
So, and then we got to do our jar winner at the end.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So weeklytransit.com is your website. You have an awesome YouTube where you talk about the astrology that's happening. And so if you like Scott and what Scott's been sharing today, you'd really like his YouTube. So The Weekly Transit is the name of it. But they can find everything on the weeklytransit.com, including sessions and classes and all that good stuff. Is there anything you want to mention to everybody watching?
No, I think you covered it all. I'll second that. I've got a podcast, The Weekly Transit, cover the transits each and every week, and how to work with the energy so that you feel empowered. You have the clarity you need to feel empowered each and every week. I also do interviews on the podcast. Dallisa was one of my first interviews, and I just love talking to people and learning about their stories. And, kind of like how you were alluding to, how someone might have not made any money or was poor, but now, they have money. It's like, I love hearing the stories of people, and they're very inspirational to me. Yours in particular, especially Dallisa, I really appreciated your story as well. So, which you got to share with Lee Harris, which was really cool. So that's awesome. Congratulations to that.
Thanks. Yeah. I think everybody heard about me and Lee Harris last week about 57 times.
So you're not mentioning it. I'll mention it for you, Dallisa. I'm excited for you.
It was so much fun. I love him as a person. He and I are friends. I've been in his circle orbit for several years now, and so it was all just serendipitous how it all came together. And his team is fantastic. Everybody that helped support the show, everybody that watched, commented, it was the whole last week was basically devoted to that episode. But yeah, it was one of those moments that really hit me in the heart in a good way. And I had this goal of gosh, could we get to 25,000 views in 48 hours? And we did. And the morning that it happened, I was having breakfast with my mom in North Idaho. And I said, yeah, it hit. We have 25,000 views. And so I said, let's do a little video outside. So she was the one filming.
Oh, that's where that was? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the little 60-second video about how we made the goal. And she's holding my phone, and there's just tears streaming down her face because she's so proud of everything that's happened. And so it was a really cool moment. probably one of the highlights of my decade-long career at this point.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah, it's such a huge
yeah,
accomplishment to be recognized by someone of his stature in the spiritual community. So, yes,
yeah,
yes.
it was cool. So hopefully
Hmm.
more to come from Lee and I in the future. We'll see what develops. Yeah. So let's see
Hmm.
what I have a couple of updates. Let's see, and then we're gonna pull the winner out of the jar. Oh yeah, I'll mention this. So, and Scott offers appointments, and so if you want to look at your astrology, you can certainly go to his website. So I have this community Scott knows called the Sacred Signal. Sacred Signals. I know a lot of you are members. Thank you. I've seen your names pop up today. So this morning, I sent out an email to that community. I said, okay, I have some sessions available for April, and I have this available and that available. So everything's sold out. So
Wow.
good problem. But the
Hmm.
plan was whatever didn't sell, I was going to put out publicly because I get a lot of people on, especially Instagram, asking for sessions. So there isn't anything left for April. If you are a Sacred Signals member, I did give you a little note before we started today to let you know that you could still do the tarot and oracle card report for the spring. It's $22, and I'm only going to take those sales until midnight. So if you're not a Sacred Signals member, you would want to join that first, and then you'd have access to buy that report. So just kind of a heads up, because I did tell people like, oh yeah, whatever's left over that doesn't get purchased, I'll put out publicly. There's nothing left to put out publicly. So the next step then, if you're not a Sacred Signals member, would just be that I will announce whatever's next for the month of May. So TBD on that. Okay, let's see what I've got on here. So this Saturday, I'm going to be doing a channeled meditative journey where I channel archangels. And so that is also for Sacred Signals members. That's this Saturday, and it's free for members. So you can sign up for Sacred Signals on my website. Let's see what else I got in here. Rewilding. So a free 8-day online retreat. I'll be sending out an email for this. If you're not on my email list, go to spiritandSpark.com and just add yourself to the email list. Lots of different speakers and topics. And if you were around last year when we did rewilding with Jenner and her team, it was fantastic. So free, totally free. So that's coming up too. Let's see, dipping my toe in of Mars going into Leo. So I've been doing this fun thing on Wednesdays where I look at the astrology chart of the moment. Scott is the astrologer, but he knows I love astrology and I've been
Yeah.
practicing. So I'll be
Cool.
talking about Mars going into Leo tomorrow. That's for Sacred Signals members as well. Okay, I
I
think I
love
got through.
the man on Mars
I was
image.
on Canva earlier today and I was like, what can I do to represent Mars? I was like, oh, that works. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. I think I got through all of my announcements. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So we got to do our jar winner. So I am going to type my email address into the live chat here on the YouTube. And you have until midnight today, April 15th, if you are the person I call out of the jar. Now, as a reminder, it's going to pop a name up. That name will match your name exactly as it appears in the live chat today. Okay, I think we need a little drum roll. My favorite part. I mean,
Yeah,
outside of the amazing
oh,
conversation, you know.
you love the drum roll. That's why you do this, so you can do the drum roll.
It's my North Node Leo third house. Okay, here we go. The winner is, for your 12-month personalized tarot report,
Oh wow!
Deb Johnston.
All
Deb
right.
Johnston, you are today's live winner. If you haven't given the video a thumbs up, please do that. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. Scott is at theweeklytransit.com right there on your screen. And all my stuff's over at spiritandspark.com. Scott, thank you so much for being on today's show.
You're welcome, Dallisa. It is always a pleasure, a privilege, an honor to connect with you. I'm so grateful for you to invite me on. Thank you.
Yay, we will do it again soon, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, thank you everybody that tuned in live and those that are enjoying the replay. I'm looking forward to reading all your comments. And we'll see you next Tuesday for another episode of Planets and Predictions. Bye for now. Bye.